Hey creative friends, it's Gwen and I'm back today with another scrapbooking process video. Today's share is for Cocoa Vanilla Studios and I've pulled out an older line for this one. I'm using the Unforgettable collection and I'm also going to be using this month's mood board challenge. So I'll leave that up here somewhere for you to have a look at it. It's beautiful, it's rainbow, it's pastel, it's all things lovely. Okay, so first up, this is my photo that I'm using for the page, and I have backed it with one of the pattern papers from the collection. This is just like a mint. It isn't a flat color, it's sort of watercolory, and it's a lovely pretty mint color. So I've used my thread to stitch around the edge there. And then this is my background. So I have pulled out a cut file. This one is from Cut to You. And then I've gone ahead and backed just the circular parts in it. So for the mood board, I'm really drawn to I think it's the top left-hand corner of the mood board. It's an image with a stack of buttons and they're all lined up sort of across a page. So I kind of wanted to emulate that and I've done it with this cut file. Now for my background, I've used the Sprightly pattern paper from the collection to create my border frame. The way that I usually do, I do like a framed background for my layout. And I was also really sure to use some of the scraps of that pattern paper on those inner parts of the circle elements there so that it just sort of pulls the page together. Often I'll use the same pattern paper to back my photo as I do on the outer edge of the layout, but for this one I have mixed that up, but it still all works together because I have that same pattern paper on the circle elements and on the edge, and then you'll find I've got the mint, which is on my photo backing, so my photo mount. That mint is also in the circular elements. So there's a bit of crossover there, and that's what helps pull everything together. Continuing on with the circle inspiration, I have pulled out a lot of circle elements from the die cut pack, including these little ones here. I did audition the black and white ones. They were a little large for where I was going, but I did find this one, which is a little bit smaller. And yes, you only get one in your ephemera pack. You don't get three. I just, because I'm on the design team, I do have access to a lot of the supplies and I am a bit naughty. I do open the next ephemera pack sometimes before finishing the first one. So I did have these kicking around. And I thought it was a really good way to get them on the page and get them used up and really draw out the circles and play on that circular theme that kind of is where I'm going with this layout. I really like too how they don't stand out too much. I want them to feel like they blend really well with the cut file, but then also with the other die cut pieces that I'm using in the collection. So I want all my layers to sort of flow together, and I feel that they do a really good job of that. So I am digging through the ephemera pack and I am looking for round elements, and I am going to find some floral pieces as well. I use quite a large floral piece in that top left hand corner, and I do add one more smaller floral to that. But yeah, so I am just looking really for round elements, and I did find that large one that's white in the top left hand corner of the photo. That says A Moment in Time. I'm also going to use, as I said, a floral piece, and it's quite round. I'll use that in a moment. And I also pull out one of the flare buttons, and that's round as well. And I feel like now I have circles represented on all of the layers in my layout. So if you think of the layout as a cake, so the base of the cake is the background, so there's circles on there. The center part of the cake is the flatter and larger die cut pieces. So in this case, the round die cut elements that I added, as well as the cut file circle elements. Then I've got the next layer of the cake, which would be the embellishment in the top hand corner of the photo. And then the very finishing touch on the cake is the lumpy bumpy stuff, the textural elements, and that would be the flare button. What I'm also doing here is excluding elements. So if I don't do that, I will go down a little rabbit hole and want to audition every single piece in every single place on my page, and nothing will get stuck down. So one of the strategies I have to sort of prevent myself from doing that is to go on the search for elements in the die cut pack that I know I'm not going to use. Pieces that might be the wrong color completely, they might be too large, they might be something that doesn't fit with the theme of the page. I just go on the lookout for things that I know 100% I'm not going to use, and then I take them out and I remove them from my choices. It also, for me, I find that really helps me to see the things that could work. I'm now also going to add in a couple of more elements on the right. And it's at this point that I decide that I want something that's going to be a little bit more square. My photo is square and my layout is square, and then the rest is all circles. So to kind of help blend the gap between the square photo and the round circles in the background, I am going to add a couple of square elements in the form of die cuts. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky because I'm going to have to balance things out here. I'm not going to want the square elements to be too blocky. I just need enough to make the squareness of the photo sitting on the round elements make sense. Things are getting serious because I'm gluing stuff down. I am going to go ahead and glue into position the larger pieces that are going to be on the background. I know at this point that's where they're staying, those two anyway, and that large floral die cut piece. I know that that's going to be staying there as well. I'm not entirely sure yet about the third circular element. So I'm going to leave that for now. And I did want to add here that you don't need very much glue. I always say less than you think, because what happens when you push the papers together is that the glue spreads out, and there's nothing worse for me. It's a pet hate of mine when the glue oozes out from underneath a cut file or a die cut. So yes, I always say less is more, use less than you think. Okay, so it's about now that I'm finding that main cluster there, which is the one on the left top corner of my photo, I'm finding that there was a little bit of a gap. On the left, there's a gap underneath where that round element is there that I'm positioning, but there's also a little gap on the top edge as well, and I am going to fill those. So the bottom one there, that's just a round floral die cut piece, and it's great because it is a very circular floral element, so it works in really, really lovely. And the little sentiment that I had there before that says every photo has a story, it does end up there in that little gap as well, and it fits and it kind of balances out the squares that I was talking about earlier. The butterflies, I have to tell you, the smaller ones of those came from the die cut pack, but the larger ones, the green one there that I have and the large pink one at the bottom, those ones have been fussy cut from one of the pattern papers. I had to check the name. It's Pretty Bits, and it's a cut apart sheet essentially. There's a bunch of elements on there. You can fussy cut them all out and add them as embellishments, and that's exactly what I've done with the butterflies. And it is at this point that I'm really kind of trying to nut out where that third circle piece is going to go. I know I want to add it to the page. I feel like I need 3 groups of 3, visual triangle, like there's a lot of 3s in scrapbooking, so I do feel like I need 3. And it's not really until this point when I placed that other square piece that I went, yes, that's where it needs to go, along that top edge of the photo. And then that's also where I find the home for the flare button. So some more elements are getting stuck down, which is always a good thing. I am using some foam tape for this one. It's actually from the accessory sticker sheet, but to give it the same look as say a die cut and to add some dimension to my page, I've just popped it on some 3D foam tape. I really like to mix and match and have some elements flat to the page and raise some up. I just find it really adds another layer of interest to the layout. And it's at this point that the layout is really starting to come together. I am going to fuss with the butterflies a little bit, and I'm really thinking about when I'm positioning them, the flow of the page. So this one is going to sort of flow from the top right hand side down towards the bottom left. I will show you in a minute. Yes, here. So I'm just making sure that anything that I'm adding now, these finishing touches, are working with that flow. Speaking of finishing touches, I am adding now some of the sentiment stickers from the accessory sticker sheet. These ones I also like to add with foam tape. And yeah, I'm going to add I think 3 or 4, and they're just going to help draw the eye around the page. There's some lovely little sentiments in these. And you betcha I'm going to pull out my ruler and make sure that they're nice and straight. I have nothing on my background here to kind of help me like measure that. So I did want to make sure that they were nice and straight on my page. I am going to finish up the page with some enamel dots. This collection came with beautiful colours, so I will be adding those. I'll also leave you a link below for how you can join in with the mood board challenge this month. I hope my layout has inspired you. If you like the way that I scrapbook or the way that I chat about the way that I scrapbook, I would love it if you'd give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today, creative friends, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, bye!